Big Mac Talks.
Although the talent level in the upcoming NBA draft has been labeled as mediocre compared to previous years, the mystery around who will go where always creates excitement in its own right. In this particular video, I'm going to discuss who I believe the top 5 picks will be in the 2024 NBA draft and why they will land where they do. Starting off with the first overall pick in the 2024 draft, I believe the Atlanta Hawks will be forced to take Zaccharie Risacher. Now, I don't say this because they have no other option, but instead I say it because I actually think Alex Sarr is a better fit for the Hawks' short and long term plans, with Clint Capela getting older and the team already being very offensively savvy. Risacher is a big wing type player with solid shot making and defensive abilities, as well as good athleticism, which makes him a pretty safe option to a minimal be a decent NBA player. For the Hawks, the issue instead is that the team doesn't necessarily need another 3 to 4 flex type player with strong 3-and-D ability, as they already have several players filling that role in Sadiq Bey, DeAndre Hunter, Jalen Johnson, and even Bogdanovich to a certain degree. Sarr would greatly help an Atlanta team who finished in the bottom 5 in defensive rating, blocks per game, and points in the paint allowed in 2023. However, he has refused to work out for Atlanta. This understandably has raised several red flags in the organization and with fans alike. The rumor is that Sarr is hoping for more of a perimeter slash power forward type role on offense, which he knows the Hawks are going to be unable to give him. Therefore, he has decided to work out for Washington, who is more likely to experiment with him and give him more flexibility in his development. Now, the Hawks technically could go off the board and pick Donovan Clingan instead, given his immediate fit on the roster, but considering the team scouts did spend a lengthy time in France evaluating Risacher in the final stretch of the season, I think they've shown their cards. I also doubt they're willing to take a risk with this pick, given all of the scrutiny they received for trading Luka Doncic for Trae Young on draft night a few years back. Overall, Risacher is the safest pick for Atlanta as he possesses an NBA-ready frame and ranks very high in both catch and shoot and two-way transition ability. The skill set combined with Sarr's lack of competence should see Risacher go first overall in the 2024 NBA draft. The second pick in the draft goes to the Washington Wizards. If the Hawks do end up picking Sarr, this pick could be interesting as I don't think Risacher does much more for the team than Kyle Kuzma currently does, either in the short or long term. But expecting that the Hawks won't select Sarr, I'm placing him at number 2, going to Washington. This pick is actually pretty easy as long as it's available, considering the Wizards do not have any reliable option at center whatsoever at the moment. The Wizards give Sarr the most flexibility and opportunity to develop into a key offensive piece immediately, and based on how the team has spoken about him, I expect them to do exactly that. They were at the bottom of nearly every defensive category, including defensive rebound percentage and points in the paint allowed, which Sarr should help fix even as a rookie. Technically, Donovan Clingan could also help in this regard as well and already plays an American style of basketball, but Sarr is a better overall shooter than Clingan, which I think has given the Wizards front office a bit too much of a chubby over the French center to pass on him. Washington is desperate, and Sarr may be their only option of picking up an all-star through the draft since 2012. With the team being beyond unlikely to bring in any top-tier free agents or making any blockbuster trades for a while, the suboptimal level of chance Sarr has to become a franchise player is the Wizards' only option at this point. So expect Alex Sarr to go second overall. At number 3, the Houston Rockets have the third overall pick, which they acquired from the Brooklyn Nets. The Rockets are slowly becoming a loaded dynamite force of the future as they have the positions of center, power forward, and shooting guard all occupied by extremely talented players under the age of 23. The team also has Amon Thompson, who did play better post All-Star break and at least has potential as being the team's long-term solution at the 3 spot, and also has Cam Whitmore there as well. So really, the only position the Rockets don't have covered for the future is point guard, which is what nearly every mock draft, including mine, has them taking if they don't trade this pick, which is also a good option if possible. Now, if Zaccharie Risacher does somehow fall to this spot, I do think Houston will jump on him, but I don't think they'll draft Sarr if he does drop here. Assuming neither of these scenarios happen, I expect the Rockets to take Reed Shepherd as is predicted in most mock drafts. They could go off the board a little and select Dalton Connect to help with their perimeter shooting woes at the wing, but I think it's an easier fix for them through free agency or trades than adding a long-term solution at point guard is, so Shepherd should be the pick here. Shepherd is a great shooter in his own right, as he posted one of the best shooting slash lines in NCAA history during his lone season, shooting above 50% in regular and three-point field goals, as well as above 80% at the line. Although he is undersized, he is a good defender, posting a strong steal and block percentage at the NCAA level. In fact, he is the only player ever to have a steal percentage above 4%, block percentage above 2%, and usage percentage above 17% while shooting above 45% from the college three-point line. Furthermore, this is also a strong pick for the Rockets as they could largely play Shepherd behind veteran Fred VanVleet to take some of the pressure off. Shepherd can learn the defensive NBA game through FVV, and within the next 2 seasons, the Rockets could promote Shepherd while taking VanVleet's 40+ million contract off their books. Picking Shepherd will help the Rockets in the short and long term, and I fully expect them to make the move come draft night. The San Antonio Spurs will pick 4th overall. I originally had this pick as a blockbuster trade, with San Antonio trading it as part of a package for Zach LaVine, but now that the media has noted the Bulls have offered LaVine to as many as 15 teams, I doubt the Spurs would need to give up this pick to get him. If anything, they could give up the 8th pick and something additional for LaVine. So, with the Spurs now likely keeping this pick in my mind, who should they take? Historically, Mataz Buzelis would be a good fit for what the Spurs like in players. However, the role he would play for the team is already taken by Keldon Johnson and Jeremy Sochan. I also like Dalton Connect for this pick, as the Spurs were one of the worst three-point shooting teams last year, but the 4 spot is just too high for him. If they could get him at 8, I fully expect them to take him, however. So, considering what the Spurs like being two-way players and what the Spurs actually need, either a shooting guard or point guard to compete with Tre Jones, I think they'll end up taking Stephon Castle. Tre Jones was solid for the Spurs when given minutes last year and is only 23, but I think most people would agree he's best fitted as a very good backup option for a team who can start occasional games when needed. For Castle, his agent has made it very clear they only want to talk with teams with a void at the primary point guard position, and Castle likely feels comfortable enough competing with Jones for that role. Castle should get minutes fairly quickly given his defensive versatility, and his role on offense will be more creating shots for Wemby, Devin Vassell, and Keldon Johnson, opposed to making shots for himself, which is his weakness. This should also take some of the offensive pressure off of Jeremy Sochan, who could then focus on his strengths, off-ball offensive play, rebounding, and defense. Connect might still be available at 8. Stephon Castle will not be available at 8. So if the Spurs want to do the right thing, they should take Castle while they can and hopefully secure their point guard of the future. The next pick in the draft is the Detroit Pistons. If the Pistons could trade this pick, they should. Unfortunately, I don't think they'll get much for it, so they'll likely end up having to draft where they are. So with this pick, the Pistons really have 2 options given their current roster: Dalton Connect or Mataz Buzelis. Personally, I think Connect is the better option for this pick, as the areas where the Pistons need help are more tailored to Connect's strengths. Buzelis stands tall at 6'8 to 6'10 and is a good rebounder for either forward position, but he's about 20 pounds lighter than Connect, which I think will be an issue at the NBA level. He's also not a great shooter, as he shot under 30% from beyond the arc in the G League, and his free throw percentage was also below average. Surprisingly, the Pistons' current roster rebounds pretty well, as they finished 5th in defensive rebound percentage, and offensive rebounding was also one of the few stats they weren't in the bottom 5 of the league within. In most shooting categories, however, they were in the bottom 5, including 3-point percentage, true shooting percentage, and effective field goal percentage. In the case of Connect, he should be able to help solve this problem as he has one of the highest projected NBA three-point percentages in the draft and also challenges the likes of Reed Shepherd and Zaccharie Risacher for the best in categories of true shooting percentage and effective field goal percentage. If the Pistons are smart, they'll take Dalton Connect. With that being said, I fully expect them to beat Detroit and end up taking Mataz Buzelis, which will be a mistake in the long term. So that wraps up my expected top 5 picks for the draft. For anyone who has stayed around this long, you could also see my entire mock draft for the lottery positions on the screen now. But what do you guys think? Will Zaccharie Risacher go first overall? Will the Spurs or any other team actually trade out of the top 5 or 10? Will any player I mentioned or didn't mention go in a different position? Let me know what you think in the comments and don't forget to subscribe.